On December 19, 2018, a series of demonstrations broke out in several Sudanese cities, due in part to rising costs of living and deterioration of economic conditions at all levels of society. The protests quickly turned from demanding urgent economic reforms into demands for President Omar al-Bashir to step down. Many analysts and political commentators regard the economic reasons as a mere cover of the general political agendas.
The reason of the relation is that Field Marshal Omar al-Bashir spent more than 30 years as president of Sudan. And during that time, there were many problems. The major one was the secession of Southern Sudan in the year 2011, and economic crisis, especially at the end of the year 2018. In December 2018, the uprisings started because of many economic problems. The living condition was very bad, and many people started uprising, and this led to the overthrow of Field Marshal Omar al-Bashir in April 11 of April 2019.
September Revolution was a revolution against the economic performance of the government, and it is an accumulation of anger because the Al-Inqaz regime endured the authority for 30 years. Actually, some certain factors concerning the role of the outside forces has played a role in instigating the revolution to gain some interest, that interest being economic or political interest. So subjectively, we can say that there is reasons for the revolution to be and to demand the change of the regime. But in the second hand, we have to see the players behind the scenes who have an ambitions to control the government in Sudan and to have an economic interest from Sudan. These players are now still playing in the war, supporting and giving backing to the notorious militia and instigating the war and complicating the settlement of this revolution or this war in Sudan.
Sudan is a diverse country. It has many problems, social problems, political problems. These problems may be mainly concentrated in how to govern us or how to govern Sudan or the governance system in Sudan. So we found in 1964, in 1985, even in 2019, the revolution in Sudan, it took like a civil resistance. But actually, this accumulation of connected with also armed forces, armed revolution also. Whether in Southern Sudan, former Southern Sudan, or in Darfur or Blue Nile, or in Nuba Mountains. The question is that why the revolution in 1964 and 1985, and this became a civil, people think that a civil resistance, and why that armed one. because the social fabric of Sudanese social fabric itself is completely diverse. Those who resist in a center in 1964 and in 1985 and in 2019, this, I think, it led by elites, Sudanese elites, political parties, civil societies, and so. They have no choice except to resist any dictatorship by using what called civil resistance more. Sometimes they join it armed resistance also.
An under-the-table agreement was forged between the military leaders to end the chaos in a way that safeguards the national unity and stability of the country.
أعلن أنا وزير الدفاع رئيس اللجنة الأمنية العليا اقتلاع ذلك النظام والتحفظ على رأسه بعد اعتقاله في مكان أهم.
The dream of freedom, democracy, and economic recovery turned to be a nightmare. The economic situation deteriorated further due to the austerity measures adopted by the government led by Mr. Hamdok. The political environment was poisoned with isolation, nepotism, and selfishness. It's the one time a unified alliance witnessed splits and began to disintegrate. Then the Communist Party broke away and went to the opposition.
There is no strategic plan. And the slogan of the revolution is just fall. Just fall means what is next, what is after the fall of the government. There was no program. Even the Prime Minister himself, Abdullah Hamdok, yes, when he was asked in Saudi Arabia by the Sudanese who are working there, they asked him, what is your program? He simply answered them, these people did not give me any program, just like an answer of a pupil, not of a prime minister. There was no any program. Their program is just to take over power, and what is next is not important for them. And maybe there are some intervention from outside Sudan who interrupted them and encourage them just to go for the revolution. And what's next should be made by the international community, for example, like the program of UNITAMS. And UNITAMS was one of the main problems that faced the Sudanese people after 2019 revolution. And at that time, there should be a transitional government for 1 year, as what has happened during the revolutions, which I have already said. But unfortunately, those who took over, the military and the civilian, wanted a transitional period of 4 years. And this was a very strange transition period. I think it has not happened in any country. For this reason, many people started complaining against this new transitional government. And also, instead of concentrating on some issues like the economic issues, the transitional justice, for example, they started to other cases like, for example, dismantling the National Congress Party, which was the ruling party during the time of Omar Bashir. And also they arrested Omar Bashir and his cabinet for more than 4 years without any trial.
Taking revenge from the Islamic movement, is part of the regional conspiracy, because the players, the regional players, particularly the United Arab Emirates, want to dismantle the Muslim Brotherhood or the Islamic movements and deny them the right to be part of the political process. And due to that, we have seen the FFC, الحرية والتغيير, tried to do what the regional allies wants, and this is one of the factors which led to the war, and at the same time made the FFC fail to resolve the economic problem. We have seen the inflation rising in Sudan, and the economic problems complicated more, even with the international donors stepping in to provide the government with loans or to alleviate the economic burden from the Sudanese people. So this is one of the cost the FFC is paying to the regional actors who are acting behind the scene to dismantle the Muslim Brotherhood or the Islamic movement and deny them to be part of the political process.
In the meantime, the Forces of Freedom and Change consolidated its alliance with the RSF militia. The military forces affiliated with the army started a parallel march, recruited new soldiers, and obtained heavy weapons. The dismantling of the National Intelligence Operation Authority was a goal to the militia, so that they can get rid of the powerful future enemy, a chance to inherit its capabilities and bases at the same time. The militia gained control over the precious gold mines. Ironically enough, to note that the economic expert and the much-appreciated Prime Minister, Abdullah Hamdok, assigned Hemeti the presidency of the Economic Committee.
The RSF was established in a certain context. That is, the government of al-Bashir faced a revolt in Darfur, and at the same time there was a cause in the south. So they needed some other forces to be part of this fighting. And through the years since 2013 to 2019, we have seen them crushing the hard power of the rebel movements in Darfur. But after 2019, we have seen that they stepped forth to be part of the political environment, and this is a changing point in the process of this movement.
Yes, they have. And even before the war, they were making alliances with, for example, the native administration, with many influential people, even the singers and the actors and so on. So they have their program to take over power.
On the political front, the demonstrations have continued by both the Islamists and the Communist Party. Fragmentation and widespread polarization made the situation even more complicated. The Forces for Freedom and Change have failed to consolidate the unity amongst its ranks, so a faction split it and became known as the FFC Democratic Bloc. The bloc was comprised of some of the main military movements signatory to the Juba Peace Agreement.
The main causes of this war is external intervention, and this is happened when the army and the government at that time negotiated the framework agreement and tried to sign it with the FFC, and the failure of this agreement ended with the war. because these external powers, mainly the UAE, tried to make success for this framework agreement, and the main reason to make the successful of this framework agreement is to make a cope by the RSF to lead the power in the country. Unfortunately, when the army refused this agreement, the framework agreement, they tried to make a coup by the RSF. After that, the war started. The problem of the political powers in the country that they are tried to get the power without elections through the military power of the RSF. This is the main reason.
This fragmentation has led to more disagreement between the military component on one hand and the remnants of civilian bloc, namely the FFC, on the other. At the end of the day, the partnership has crippled, and the military has decided to blow the FFC out of the government. Although America and Saudi Arabia have led a peace initiative, but they have failed to force the RSF militia to comply with what was agreed upon. Some see this as a sign of indifference or a lack of interest. The Jeddah Accord stipulated that the militia should evacuate citizens' houses, public utilities, and to be mobilized on certain camps outside Khartoum. Contrary to that, they attacked cities in Darfur and seized Al Jazeera State in central Sudan. Unfortunately, the chaos never stopped. The youth took to the streets once again. Their demand was a civilian rule calling on the military to go back to the barracks and the RSF to be dismantled. Although these calls were received with great joy by the FFC, but on the ground, they seem to have lost popularity of the glorious past days. The youth have accused the FFC of manipulation and playing games. The foreign agents and the outside factors took the front line. The head of UNITAMS, Volker Perth, along with ambassadors of the United States of America, Great Britain, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, backed a return to the status quo. That is a partnership between the military component and the civilian. The term civilian here is elusive and disinformative, as it refers to the FFC alone. This is to cover up the role played by foreign forces. They pretended to present a document named the Framework Agreement as a genuine Sudanese initiative to solve the political crisis in Sudan. This was a manipulated document intended to pave the way and consolidate an authoritarian government that gives the FFC and the RSF militia an upper hand to run the country for an unknown period. The astonishing terms of the draft constitution are many. The most to swallow was the integration of the RSF into the National Army. The Army wanted a 2 years period, while the militia and its allies, the Forces for Freedom and Change, backed 10 years. It clearly seems they were eager to hijack the political and military decisions. Because they are in a hurry, the foreign and native manipulators managed to push the army to the corner. They hold the workshops stipulated in the Framework Agreement without due consideration to the Sudanese people or the so-called stakeholders, a term used commonly to refer to a certain segment of the political arena that was the Forces for Freedom and Change.
The secret is the regional backers They wanted to have a parallel forces, and Hemeti stepped in to present himself as an alternative to the National Army, and they need to secondly, the FFC thought that the army and the security apparatus are manipulated by the Islamic movement. So they want an alternative to be as the antagonist to the Muslim Brotherhood or to the National Army and the security apparatus. This is the two main factors behind the enhancement of the power of the RSF in the Sudanese political and military arenas.
Just days before the war started, some figures of the FFC raised their voices with warning statements that the alternative to the framework agreement is war. The last such threatening statement was only hours before the RSF militia marched to seize power by force.
I think it is the second fold of the revolution. When they failed to do what they want through the revolution, they went to the plan B, that is to take the government by force through the RSF and the FFC as collaborators. Factually, these two parties tried to dominate the political and the military arenas by interchanging their positions behind the scene. When they failed to do this through الاتفاق الإطاري or the framework agreement, they went to take the government by force. That is to make a military coup. In first instance, it was a military coup, or that was the intention. But when the government or the military backlashed the RSF and the FFC, they went to a long war, dismantling the economic and stalling the properties of the citizens, and what we have seen from the RSF as atrocities committed against the Sudanese people.
Some thought the war was another fold of the revolution, but the Sudanese people came to see it as a sign of the conspiracy hidden under the table since the 2019 revolution. The military buildup by the RSF militia for weeks tells that the leader of the militia showed resilience to take over power, threatening to kill the commander-in-chief of the Sudanese Armed Forces, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. Since the first bullets, the Sudanese people recognized that it was a war of revenge against the nation, not just against the army. The militia lost its military bases in and around Khartoum due to the heavy airstrikes. Then they broke into houses and public utilities like hospitals, ministries, and commercial buildings.
I think these crimes against Sudanese people and the horrible crimes, the violence against men and women, all of this is very, very huge crimes. It is difficult to find it easy that the RSF can be in the future a part of the government or of the military.
You see, the war in Sudan after 15 April, people did not give the real size of the war. This how the war the scale of the war in Sudan is not, similar like what happened in South Sudan or Darfur. This one, it has a it is very strong support, international, some not international, regional support. Because now the war, the weapon supply, equipment supply coming from our west border. Also, there are some countries, name it, that are supporting either money or weapon or something like that. The amount of equipment and artillery and fighting resources, other fighting resources and manpower that gathered in Khartoum is not something simple like a war in South Sudan or Darfur.
Rape, looting of property, starving, and ethnic cleansing were common acts by the militia. The world's human rights organizations, the media, women and men of conscience, all condemned and reported the crimes committed against innocent civilians. The killing of Masali tribe with cold blood and the assassination of Mr. Hamisa Bakr, the governor of West Darfur, was the most barbaric act of terror to solve the political crisis in Sudan. This was a manipulated document intended to pave the way.
You see, the war in Sudan after 15 April, people did not give the real size of the war. So to find solution, easy solution in such a situation is very difficult, of course, very difficult. To find solution, you work simultaneously in different direction, in different what called phases. One of them, say, in a diplomatic phase. The other is something military. This is we don't know how to be controlled. That the military institution and RSF themselves, they know that how they, and we are witnessing what is going on the ground, of course. The other one is a political one. Okay. For international community, to find a support from international community, we need international community. I myself, even the party or the movement that I belong to it. The international community has very negative experience during the 2 years or 3 years point of view that the international community should support the Sudanese without supporting this one. Support Sudanese in a positive way to sit together. This is the one. Okay, for the political solution, there must be a dialogue. Whatsoever, there must be dialogue. I think I don't believe in a direction that you must crush your enemy to build a country. This is the idea of exclusion, and exclusion is very, very, very bad in a history of the human being.
The military is part of the solution because we need to see the RSF out of the political and military arenas, because the atrocities they have committed against the Sudanese people cannot be mitigated with any political cosmetics, because this militia killed, raped, and committed all the crimes, war crimes. We can say it's war crimes. So dismantling the militia, uprooting it from being part of the military institutions is very crucial for a sustainable peace and tranquility in Sudan. This is in the military aspect. As for the political process, I think after ending the war, the Sudanese people, regardless of their backgrounds, being political or religious, should be part of a democratic process. That is, stop excluding certain parts of the political parties from the political process, and that was one of the reasons that led us to the war. This is secondly. I think we need also to make reconciliation, because some certain tribes are backing the militia, and by this they are part of the crimes being committed by it. So we need to make reconciliation, a social dialogue, or something like what we have seen in Rwanda or South Africa.
The chapter of the future is yet to begin, but the main features are crystal clear. A one national army after disintegrating the RSF militia and the integration of all military movement. A short interim period leading to a democratically elected government.